The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, says all those found guilty of having committed or masterminded the Ngarbu massacre in the Donga-Mantum Division, northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon should be fully punished according to the law. You will get details of a declaration on this issue in this newscast. And Cameroon now records close to 1,500 COVID-19 cases in the country. Stay with us. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinox Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bable Jonathan. We begin with news on the COVID-19 pandemic in the Republic of Cameroon. The Prime Minister and Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph Dion Ngute, and other members of government were evaluating the COVID-19 situation of the Republic of Cameroon. Today, he was chairing a video conference, of course, during that weekly evaluation meeting of the Interministerial Committee managing the COVID-19 pandemic. The members of government evaluated the situation of the Republic of Cameroon, and it emerged from that meeting that Cameroon now counts 1,334 COVID-19 cases, 668 cases successfully treated, and 43 deaths. And the members of government evaluated the anti-COVID-19 measures, and the repatriation of Cameroonians abroad was also on the discussion table. Head of State Paul Biya has ordered the repatriation of Cameroonians stranded abroad as a result of the closure of the borders as one of the government's anti-COVID-19 measures. The first contingent of 675 Cameroonians repatriated arrived the country recently, and over 668 are still stranded in different African countries. And the COVID-19 figures continue rising, and the authorities are also stepping up measures to prevent the spread of the coronavirus across the country. Here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, the divisional office and other authorities in the 4th subdivision went on today disinfecting markets in Bonaberi, Douala 4. Immaculate Fogwe. We'll be coming back to that report shortly in this newscast. Time for us to take you to the northwest regional capital, Bamenda. The northwest so far has recorded 1 case of COVID-19, and latest information streaming into our studio indicates that the COVID-19 case being administered treatment at the Bamenda Regional Hospital is responding to treatment. Our correspondent, Stella, reports.
Panic gripped the inhabitants as Bamenda recorded the first coronavirus case in the northwest region.
I was quite worried when I got that there is a case in the northwest region, because we live in an atmosphere where people don't scare. They say wear masks, people don't wear masks. They say sanitize, people don't sanitize. There are buckets of water, but some people are still very, very hesitant about washing their hands.
I was so afraid when I got the message of COVID-19 in the northwest region.
I'm very afraid because I'm afraid that it might spread in the society and many people might be contaminated.
According to Dr. Dennis Same, director of the Bamenda Regional Hospital, the now confirmed case got frustrated in Douala and traveled to Bamenda.
He was sick for the past 2 weeks. He went to, first of all, private health facility. And of course, when he said, well, I have these symptoms, I want to be tested, they said, Go first of all, go to the center, go to Bonamusadi, or go. He knew all the testing sites. He said, but how can you be sending me to Bona? I know that they are not testing in Bonamusadi. So they send him to Lekantini, go and have yourself tested before you come and consult. That is what he was told. And so he went again there, and actually the traffic and the reception was not the best, and he took his decision to take his private car, to take preventive measures, put his driver, put him, and drive to the northwest region. He is in the solidarity ward. He is doing fairly well. I can tell we monitor the parameters 3 times a day, and he's not on assisted respiration. He is taking his oral medication. He's eating well, And of course, I will tell you that he's a patient who is really very disciplined. So the team and Matazen did their work, but it's just that by the time he was passing, he hadn't fever.
Every locality now hit by the coronavirus started with the case, reason why the Bamenda Regional Hospital has stepped up measures aimed at containing the spread.
We have shut the other entrances of the hospital. We concentrate on one main gate. And so everybody passing through this main gate, we undergo a pre-screening and washing of hands. You know, we have to wash hands at the main gate, and all the medical staffs, everybody knows that 24 and 24, as you are in the hospital, you have to put on your mask, you have to wash your hands after each patient, or you sanitize your hands. And the other thing is that the team from the regional delegation, again, they have moved to some other entrances like Widikum. One patient, this hospital has 400 beds, one patient, one carer. We don't want visitors. Call your patient on the phone, talk with him how he's faring. You want to send some money, do mobile money and things like that. Avoid unnecessary visits to public places.
In Bamenda, chief town of the Northwest region, face masks are worn below the chin and only taken up when approaching the security checkpoint. The health expert cautions on the production and correct use of face masks.
If you have not been wearing your mask, this is the time you should not joke. If you have been going to and strolling in the market, sitting in off license to drink, this is the time you know it is not necessary. One other thing, if those who are producing have already been accredited, they are hygienic. Wash your hands well, or you sanitize your hands, and then you sew the mask. At the end, you iron them. Iron and put in, wear gloves, put them in actually sterile plastics. That's when we see people holding masks in the hands, and someone will take and measure and say, this one never fit me, and then he gives back. It is not okay.
The first coronavirus case in the Northwest region could be the only if barrier measures put in place are strictly respected. In case symptoms are noticed, inhabitants are advised to call the toll-free numbers and get themselves tested, as the coronavirus test can be carried out at the Bamenda Regional Hospital.
The southwest region of Cameroon is counting 13 confirmed COVID-19 cases, and in Mundemba, the last council session saw the coronavirus pandemic taking central stage, and the divisional officer of the Indian division also urged the municipal authorities not to abandon the council because of separatist activities. Derek Jato reports.
Receiving administrative fortification as the mayor, first and second deputies respectively, Fowan Lawrence, the senior divisional officer for Indian division, supervisory authority of councils of the said division, while performing the installation ritual, told this new team of the Mundemba Council a story that he would not like it to repeat itself.
Mundemba Council was last year abandoned to the senior divisional officer. I'm even seeing some of them now for the very first time. But I want to say the law is no respecter of persons. The mayor has set to carry out developmental project in Mundemba with council revenues. She makes sure that all your workers are there.
Voted to work for the people, they must be seen doing so, and his eyes are on them, he indicated.
For your information, I have charged my security forces to always stop by in this country to see that all the workers are there present.
To Mayor Ekenwe Samuel Osang, Mayor of the Mundemba Council, now on the driving seat, the time to move for development is now.
The politics is over, and we must therefore harness our natural forces and resources for the development of our municipalities. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let us all be men and women of integrity. A man of integrity means what he says and says what he means. He does not touch what is not his. taking what is not yours forbids you from having what is yours.
The installation was twinned with the administrative and management account of the Mundimba Council for 2019, which stood at 703,714,234 francs CFA, and the revenue recovered stood at 411,440,525 francs CFA. Amid the Anglophone crisis, the Senior Divisional Officer for Njan Division congratulated the council management for the effort. From the installation to the council session, coronavirus dictated the pace and was also on the agenda.
But we should spread all the 20 measures across the whole division, in English, in French, in our dialect, to the comprehension of each and every one of us.
The fight against COVID-19 is also gaining steam here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, and elsewhere across the country as the pandemic continues engulfing President Paul Biya's country. The divisional officer of the Douala 4 subdivision and other authorities went disinfecting markets in Bonaberi today. Immaculate Fogwe reports.
Thursday marks the start of the holy month of Ramadan for Muslims in Cameroon, but due to the outbreak of the coronavirus in the country, the normal tradition of breaking the fast and later praying in the mosque won't be applied by all in respect of the rule of social distancing implemented by the government of Cameroon. According to the divisional officer for Douala 4, Issa Dauda, not more than 50 people will be allowed to pray in a mosque.
Especially the Friday mosque, the prayer of the Friday is still locked. But you see, a part of one or two mosques around, the others are small that can carry at least 30 or 40 persons inside. And then we instructed them twice during the day to do the sanitation of the mosque before they have their prayer, and then to respect the distance measure between two people, 1 meter at least.
With several cases of COVID-19 confirmed in the Lithra region of Cameroon, an aggressive defense measure is being applied by administrative authorities here at Mabanda Market, located in the Douala 4 subdivision.
We are here to implement the measures that have been taken by the government to fight against COVID-19. So today we are in the Mabanda Market to come and do the sanitation. The sanitation is going on with a solution of hypochlorite. Okay, so we are here to implement the measure that the government has stated. Okay, the wearing of face mask and then washing the hands. You see, apart of that, we are outside again to sensibilize our population that it is not a joke.
In the course of the sensitization campaign, several persons who were not wearing their face mask were intercepted for sanctioning. According to the administrative officer and his team, failing to take stringent measures now will mean giving a way for several persons to be infected by the coronavirus.
320 prisoners have been set free from some prisons in the southwest and west regions of the country. This is part of government's measures in the fight against COVID-19. Details with Fomi Armstrong Sander.
50 prisoners released from the Kumba Principal Prison in the Meme Division of the Southwest region of Cameroon. The 50 released are part of 173 prisoners in Kumba who have benefited from the presidential pardon of some prisoners within the efforts of the government of Cameroon to curb the spread of COVID-19, especially among prisoners in prisons across the country, which are highly congested. Barely a week after the presidential decree, 173 benefited in Kumba, with 50 set free under the presence of the Senior Divisional Officer for the Meme Division, Ntundon Chamberlain, and the Senior State Counsel for the Meme. According to officials of the Kumba Principal Prison, 123 of the total number will have to stay back but will see their prison sentences reduced. The senior divisional officer for the Meme called on the freed prisoners to be exemplary citizens.
The time you pass here, I think, like the father, was just to tell you that you are taking the wrong way.
In Buda, in the Bambutus division of the West region of Cameroon, 149 prisoners of the Buda Principal Prison benefited from the same measure.
We are very happy for this gesture of the head of state. 147 inmates have benefited from this presidential grace. Today we are releasing 78 and 69 will see their sentences being reduced.
The beneficiaries were told to see themselves as lucky individuals to have benefited from a decision which failed to include everyone.
It's just to make an screening, to know that if those guys are feeling fine after their release. The first screening is about COVID-19, after then about HIV, and the third one is diabetes. All those guys, and they give us some of advice about COVID-19. You know that our government gives us some measures, that we tell us about those measures, and they are habit everywhere, every time in the city.
Penitentiary officials of the Buda Principal Prison also challenge beneficiaries to be better citizens in order not to return to the prison.
The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights has said Cameroon's decision to publicly acknowledge that members of the military were involved in the Ngarbu massacre in the Dongamantum Division, Northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon is a positive step. Michelle Bachelet applauds the fact that the Commission of Inquiry under the authority of the Ministry of Defense worked with the participation of civil society representatives, religious leaders, and the president of the National Commission on Human Rights and Freedoms. She further says it is now essential that all those responsible for the death of the people in the village of Ngarbu in the Dongamantum Division are held fully to account in a fair and transparent judicial procedure or judicial process. That is the statements by the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights on the Ngarbu incident. Coming up, Senazi now takes a look at some of the decisions, measures, and actions of the government of the Republic of Cameroon with regards to the Anglophone crisis, with regards to facts and figures reported by human rights organizations, reported by non-governmental and civil society organizations, and even political leaders and the media, including Equinox Radio and television. The report notably highlights the some sort of a forward and backward movement of government, always publishing information and coming back to reverse what was said, and of course coming back to the truth. Senazi.
Day after the massacre and burning of houses in Ngarbu village in the Dongamantum division of the Northwest, one of the Anglophone regions in crisis, Equinox Television, regarded as satellite, reported the facts to the entire world, the violence and brutality of a massacre, whereby at least 22 English-speaking civilians were shot dead, with others burnt in their houses. Cruel acts of some military men alongside some local vigilante committee members. The People's Channel, Equinox Television, deployed its team to Ngarbu that compiled testimonies of relatives of victims, civil society organizations, and religious of the Catholic Church, who all affirmed factually that women and children were deliberately massacred by some military men. A finding matching with the Human Rights Watch report.
I definitely for bed and sleep small time.
I was sleeping that fateful day. I heard people screaming. Soldiers are around. I told the fleeing people to enter my house and not to be afraid.
They come. Slow for my for my place. I said, no fear. I will see the soldier.
The military came, took us and were interrogating. They were divided in two fractions, going about setting houses ablaze and killing innocent people.
I know Sabi say they will divide two parts. Some part they go for that side. They burn houses, kill people. Then cry, at the cry, look my eye, I know if I can't come. Send I know get same.
Military been get mission from God. They won't get mission from God. Some people join military.
During the military operation, some persons went burning houses.
They don't go from God, they finish people. We're military, no.
I have very clearly figures. I have a list of 22 people whose names are on the list and who have actually died. And about 7 or 8 of them are children. 2 are pregnant women. That's the fact. And it's irrefutable because we have their names and so on.
From these testimonies, Equinox Television came up with a full factual report. After broadcast, the government of Cameroon, with its usual comportment, qualified the report big lie against the professional military. The government, through its spokesperson, cleared its image on state media news.
Communication Minister Rene Emmanuel Sadi has described as fake the alleged killings of 22 villagers, including women and children, by defense and security forces in Garbu, Ndonga Mantum division of the Northwest region.
The images of what the Minister of Communication terms unbearable cruelty on social media, showing charred bodies and killings in Garbu village, killings which are attributed to the Cameroonian Defense Forces, has been described as fake.
The government therefore strongly denies the fanciful and ungrounded accusations leveled by political activists, by sponsors of secessionist armed bands, by some non-governmental organizations and some national and international media against our defense and security forces.
The Minister of Communication, raising shoulders, contradicted himself by first declaring the military had not committed barbaric acts of any sort in the northwest and southwest regions, but later announced 5 persons were killed in a collateral damage and never above 20, as some persons exaggerated to paint government's forces black.
The government confirms 5 people, including a woman and 4 children, died in the blaze.
After Rene Emmanuel Sadi came a political scientist, Eric Mathias Owonangini, criticizing Ilaria Alegrosis of Human Rights Watch and Equinox Television, with conclusion, both connive to destabilize Cameroon.
Justement, nous devons être conscients des manœuvres.
We need to watch against manipulation and conspiracy. One disturbing thing is that freedom of expression has brought about excesses to an extent that we have evil forces in the media, whereas journalists have become armed militias of the microphone and the cameras.
Des journalistes deviennent des miliciens armés de micro et de caméra.
Equinox Television made thanks to the rantings of some pro-government newspapers and a TV channel in Yaoundé which treated the People's Channel, Equinox Television, like a piece of shit, baptizing it Amazonian Television, insurrectionist media, and so on, just because it chose to reveal the truth, all the truth, nothing else but the truth, to the public regarding the Garbu killings and burning, plus many other spelt gross abuses and unprofessional assignments which tarnish the image and reputation of the Cameroonian army.
Pourquoi le Conseil national de la communication ne frappe-t-il pas du poing sur la table face à ces médias?
As if this was not enough, the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paula Tanganji, comes to give his own punch by stigmatizing Equinox Television, attributing its style to Radio Mille Collines, known to have been at the origin of the 1994 genocide in Rwanda.
Equinox TV, STV, Balafon Radio, Le Jour newspaper, among others, are particularly and singularly warned. We do not want a Radio Mille Collines in Cameroon.
Le Cameroun n'a pas besoin d'une radio Mille Collines.
In a commanding tone, Paul Atanganji threatened to deal squarely with any media organization that will still report the truth to Cameroonians about the Ngarabu incident, where government is trapped in the web.
Les médias n'ont pas pour vocation de jeter de l'huile.
The duty of the media is not to spill oil into burning flames.
Ceux-là sont tous condamnables. À bon entendeur, salut.
In a shepherd to the shepherdess response posture, the Chief Executive Officer of Equinox Conglomerate, Severin Chunke, unleashed one after the other all the house statements of Minister Paul Atanganji.
À ce jour, Equinox Télévision, depuis la survenue des drames de Ngarbou,
Equinox Television is the only channel in Cameroon to have descended to Ngarbou since the incident took place. Viewers may not be aware, but we decided, out of a sense of responsibility, not to broadcast a large portion of the elements brought in from Ngarbou. I know that in Cameroon, we have people who think they master the work of other people better than what they themselves are supposed to be doing. But please, we are doing our work correctly, with due respect to the ethics and deontology of the profession. I think it is for this reason that my father picked me to head the National Press Card Commission. This is an organ that decides who is a journalist in Cameroon and who is not. It's a shame to tag us as enemies of the Republic. We must learn to recognize good works in this country.
Il faut quand même que dans ce pays, on sache reconnaître ce qui est bien fait. C'est pour cela que vous comprenez mon indignation.
The two members of government, René Emmanuel Sandi and Paul Atanganji, including certain political scientists and media accomplices of the lies, see their one-man show ending after President Paul Biya's Commission of Inquiry handed its report on the Ngarabu massacre, later published to the entire world, revealing some members of the Cameroonian military killed several persons and burnt houses on the 14th of February 2020 with aids of armed vigilante group members. Today, more than yesterday, government's communications are undermined and mistrusted by many who see Minister Paul Atanganji as a renegade, inflaming the Anglophone crisis. One behind presentation of fake Transparency International observers during the October 7, 2018 presidential election. One who affirmed massive participation of the English-speaking populations of the crisis-hit Northwest and Southwest regions in the February 9, 2022 elections. The man who announced seizure of a stock of arms in a humanitarian ambulance never presented to the public. But at every instance, the truth has always triumphed over small lies of the government, noted by Le Messager newspaper.
We have a government that denies the truth all the time, a government that turns around to accept what they denied yesterday. It is not the first time that this is happening. I can assure you that families feel really bad to see government deny the death of their loved ones, whereas they were actually killed. They talk to us every day and are very bitter.
To speak in a trivial way, Paul Atanganji has made it great. His namesake Paul Biya has just disowned him. A translated headline on the front page of the Nouvelle Expression newspaper. Will he now have the humility to apologize to Equinox Television, Le Jour newspaper, Balafon Radio, STV for defamation on professional journalistic work with respect of journalism ethics and deontology? In such a context, will communication from President Paul Biya's government still be credible, worthy of deserving the confidence of the Cameroonian people? This is the question that is now hanging on many lips.
Coming up next, Talking Point. we are going over to Chicago to meet our first guest in this newscast, Dominique Sigoko, a medical doctor, a specialist in epidemiology and public health. Doctor, you're welcome. Dr. Dominique Sigoko, medical specialist in Chicago, in the United States of America. What do you think about the evolution of the COVID-19 in Cameroon? Today we are at more than 1,300 confirmed cases of the COVID-19 and over 668 persons who have been treated this far.
Yes, actually, I'm a little bit concerned about everything that is happening. Because if you look a little bit around different countries such as Senegal, they have done a wonderful job. They have way less cases, and actually they have fewer deaths. But in Cameroon, we're still having a lot of cases, and the death is still increasing. So I feel like there is something that we are missing. And what I can tell to the government maybe is to start inviting people from Senegal so that they can show us what they have done actually to have this wonderful result. Because in Cameroon, so far, since we keep having this increased number of cases and increased number of deaths, that means there is something that we are not doing well. So I think that it's time for the South and South to collaborate and find the solution for the matter.
What is not being well done?
Yeah, that's the question. So I have a lot of points. First, about the medical staff. I don't think that, I heard a lot of some of my colleagues from Cameroon complaining that they don't have enough material to protect themselves. So we have faced already 2 deaths of medical doctors. I'm not really sure that it was actually related to COVID, but this is what is spread all around Cameroon, that those 2 medical doctors died from COVID. That means that the protection in Cameroon is not good enough. If the medical staff doesn't have the material, whatever is needed to protect themselves, they will start dying. And we don't have even enough medical doctors to take care of all the COVID patients. Secondly, I think that the population is still not completely educated toward the matter. We are always blaming the population that they are not following the recommendation, but we don't understand how desperate the population is. So we have a big work to really try to understand, to explain to the population what the matter is. And I really think that we should not start ticketing, give ticket to those people. Those people, they don't wear a mask not because they don't. It's just that they don't understand exactly the matter. Imagine when you leave, it's just for them, it's probably just another calamity happening to them. They have 2 options. Either I stay home and my family and me will die of hunger, either I go to the market and do my job and have the risk to be exposed to COVID. So there's a big work that has to be done in the population, and we still have to encourage them to wear a mask. And maybe the government can give a tutorial, can give a tutorial to really tell the population of people who are making that mask what is the standard, So I think that a lot of work has to be done in the population.
Dr. Dominique Sigoko, you must have heard about some political and civil society leaders who have been calling for special measures to be implemented in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. And one of those measures is a ceasefire because the situation there is different from the rest of the country, with the crisis that has been going on there for the past close to 4 years today. This is not yet happening, and the number of COVID-19 cases is increasing in those parts of the country. In the southwest, there are about 13 cases already, and the northwest has already recorded 1 case. What should be done to prevent the COVID-19 from progressing further in these parts of the country?
Yeah, I will start by saying it's so heartbreaking to see that Cameroonians are fighting against each other. Really, it's really heartbreaking. And maybe because of this pandemic, we can just take the opportunity to stop that stupid war. Excuse me to say such word. We don't understand why we have that problem. Now those people are living in such a poor condition, and now we have this disease. Even if the government wants to help them, the government cannot go there, and those people cannot have access to care. So it's really time for the government and those people to really stop that war. We don't know why we have that war. People are still going to die and die and die. And the COVID is just like the peak of the iceberg. Maybe it's not even, they have been dying there for some other disease that are actually very curable.
All right. Now, talking about the COVID-19 pandemic at the national level, there are a series of measures, a battery of more than 20 measures that the government has put in place, and that are being implemented to stop the spread of COVID-19. And the figures are still progressing, and there's a problem of the protection, the security of the workers, the health personnel.
Yeah. I just mentioned it. There's no way, if the work professionals are not protected, there's no way we are going to go get better, because we don't even have enough medical doctors in Cameroon. So imagine those people start dying, so those people are the priorities. Even here in USA, the priorities are medical staff. We asked the population, at some point the government even went and took some masks from people's house to donate to the hospital. So we really have to protect those people. And again, we need a lot of transparency on how this is actually managed. If we want to know what's the trend actually, if they can show the numbers, what they have from the beginning to the end, if we can see that the number is still increasing. Because when I go on different websites, I don't see the number of new cases when I select Cameroon. So how many new cases did we have for the last 10 days? Are we still seeing an increase or a decrease? If we are still seeing an increase, that means whatever we have in place is not working.
All right, Dr. Sigoko, what about the situation where you are in Chicago in the United States of America?
Yeah, so here in Chicago, we still have the quarantine, the stay-at-home order, and actually the school will be closed until the end of the year. So we don't really know what's going to happen, but I know that in the East Coast, we have about 9 states, even in Georgia, it's not in the East Coast, that are thinking about opening the small businesses. And this is the good thing with federalism, actually. The federalism, you have all these different states that are actually independent, so if one state starts open and that we see that there's the coronavirus is not actually increasing, the other state will see what has happened there and will just copy and implement that in their own state. So now in the US, some states are doing better. In Chicago, we are not the worst at all, but we are still very cautious. So far, we know that all the schools are remaining closed, but we really don't know when we will start going back in the office.
What information have you been receiving from your fellow Cameroonians, other Cameroonians who are there with you? What is their situation?
Actually, the situation that I received from Cameroon is really, really heartbreaking. Really, really. We have several dimensions. I will start with the medical doctors. Here in Cameroon, some friends, some people, medical doctor, we have came together to buy some masks to ship them into Cameroon to some medical doctors because they just don't have the material to protect themselves. It's so heartbreaking when you have a friend who is a director of an hospital and come to you and say, I have nothing to protect myself and my staff. It's so heartbreaking. And now there's a paranoia among the population. Anything is about the coronavirus. The population is not even aware of what it is. We can talk about it all over the news, but the population is still not aware of what it is. And I feel like this is just the desperation of the population, So we have a lot of work to do with the population. And another point that I want to bring is that it's very amazing how we see the energy of the government, how we see how they are committed to fight the pandemic. I really hope that when the pandemic will be over, they will take the same energy to fight other diseases such as malaria, such as hypertension. We need those same energy, all those diseases, because they are very dead in the Cameroonian population.
Dr. Dominique Sigoko, talking to us there from Chicago in the United States of America. Thanks, Doctor, for joining us on this edition of the 6 p.m. news on Equinox.
Thank you.
And coming up next, we are receiving our second guest who will be speaking to us from Canada. And we'll be talking about the Ngarbu incident report of the government of the Republic of Cameroon. Stay with us.
Thanks for having me once more, Babilaya.
Abdul Karim Ali, what is your opinion about the findings published by government on the February 2020 Garbu massacre in the Donga-Mantum division, northwest region of Cameroon?
Let me begin by praising God and ask him to send his blessings upon his prophet, righteous men and women, our brothers who have been massacred in Garbu, in Kendem, in Menka, in almost all over southern Cameroon. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, Babila, to address this very good question. I think that the big question that has always haunted investigation is why. So why did it take the government too long to debunk the lies that the first people told in the first place? When this massacre was done and the people said that the government military had attacked and raised them, Rene Sadi, I suppose I'm calling the name correctly, who is the communication minister, said it was an outright lies. Government officials went there, culminated falsehood with indigents of this land to say it is a lie. After the pressure given by the United Nations, Human Rights Watch, with established facts, as a matter of fact, with one of our imams, a brother who was killed soon after the Human Rights Watch was helped, and then they brought facts that it was a military. The question, why did it take them so long to bring what they call today established facts that they themselves did massacre the people of Garbu? Is it because they want to play a farce? Is it because they want to blindfold the international community with half mercy and proving to be a saint with their own crime? Or is it because they are genuine? So I think that my opinion is that the why is yet to be answered. And when we talk about Garbu, let's not forget there is genocide. As a matter of fact, Rebecca Tinsley, a well-renowned veteran journalist and a human rights activist, admitted to me in a conference that there is genocide ongoing in southern Cameroon. When we talk about Garbu, Garbu does not outbeat Menka. That occurred in 2018. What about Kendem? What about Kwakwa? What about Moyuka? What about the 1st of October 2017, where hundreds were killed from gunships? The government has to investigate all of this if they are serious. But the thing that beats me, what begs the question is, you're asking a mouse to investigate a case of a missing cookie. A mouse is in a house and biscuit is missing, and you're telling the mouse, investigate and tell us what happened. So this is what we get.
Abdul Karim Ali, what's your take on the information contained in the report published by government after the inquiry carried out by the commission set up on the instructions of the President of the Republic? The report recognizes the responsibility of the military in that particular incident in Garbu.
Oh, yeah. Talking about that document, which I've studied partially, not very intensely, I think that, yeah, at least it provides for understanding that the government of La République du Cameroun is an honest criminal, at least in this particular case. Because to condemn anything without investigation is the height of ignorance. They condemned it and now they have investigated. But let's look at the report. The report somewhat says that they gathered facts from villagers and so on. But don't forget what that report by and large says, that government has authorized vigilante to be created, paramilitary, untrained people, farmers, butchers, to form what they call a vigilante. So further question into this investigation would be who and at what time is someone supposed to provide such vigilantes in the villages? And then what piques my attention so much is what I should read. The last thing in this report, the President of the Republic reaffirms his attachment to the search for ways and means of peaceful resolving the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions in line with the recommendations of a major national dialogue. This is horribly fallacious that this government claims they have been looking for peaceful means, Mr. Babila, to resolve this crisis. A government who claims that they are trying to secure and preserve international or national integrity by killing nationals, incarcerating nationals, locking up their women, killing children. That is the peaceful means we are hearing today of trying to resolve in something, it says, with the provisions that came from the national dialogue. A national dialogue which even bona fide citizens of La République du Cameroon, like the MRC, Kamto and his group, says it is not a valid process. What are we talking about? So yeah, to an extent, it's a good step that they admit that they are committing massacre. But this did not start today. The Ibubu program in 1961 and all the things that we've been seeing, including the launching of SDF that meant killings, brutalization, and of course the escalation of this revolution that started in 2016. This is what has been going on. So I think this report should not blindfold the international community. I think the international community is not stupid enough to think that this report means that there's any good faith from this government, because there's not a single good faith.
The government or the investigators singled out some elements of the National Armed Forces who were involved in the Ngarbu massacre on the 14th of February 2020, and in that report it is said that they will be punished according to the law. Is this not a backing to the previous stance of government in which the government authorities indicated that the Army of Cameroon is very professional, but there could be some elements within the corps who go out of the track?
Oh yeah, from the surface level analysis, like some of you would see, it looks a little bit good, but from a professional perspective and from an honest perspective, is a hype. It's just a hype. Who do you want to blame? In military, there is command, there is hierarchy. The person who gives the order in the first place to invade a place has to be questioned. So do we start with the president, who is the commander-in-chief, or the minister of self-defense, or do we go to the governors who control the military, or to the commanders? Everybody has to calm down. So it's not about some malicious rogue agents. No, that's not what it is. It's about targeting a specific people. These people have been given the order. If you see their attitude till this day on the streets of southern Cameroon, they have been given the order, in their own words, to crack down. I am not inventing these words. This is the language. How can a government crack down its nationals? Just for thinking about it. So now, where do they want to start?
But Abdul Karim, the crackdown announced by the President of the Republic is not on everybody, but on some citizens who have decided to carry guns and fight the military, and fight for a particular cause, that is the restoration of the statehood of the former Southern Cameroons.
Oh, now that you mentioned this, let's remind ourselves this. I'm sure you know, but let's remind ourselves. No, these people did not carry guns to fight the military. Mr. Babila, this is something very contemporary, very, very much recent. These people have been under pressure of segregation and subjugation, brutalization for 58 years. 3 years ago, their lawyers and teachers wanted just reforms. These lawyers and teachers were beaten, humiliated, locked up. The people came to talk with the government. The government talked with them and banned the consortium, calling it a terrorist group. On the 22nd of September 2017, they decided to do a peaceful protest, which was their cry that had been crying for 58 years, and for the release of their consortium leaders. These people were beaten, killed, and thousands of them incarcerated. It took 6 months before they started saying we have to defend ourselves. Let's present it this way. Why are other countries not having people who want to defend themselves against their own government? So, I mean, when we put it that way, it is true people have taken arms, it is no news. People have claimed that they control these arms, it is no news. But for us to say that they have picked up arms to fight the military, they should have been fighting in Yaoundé. They are not there. They are still on their homeland, simply defending themselves. And if this military have killed children, mothers, raised parents in their homes, what does that make of you? Are they trying just to crack down specific people, or they are actually dealing with a set of people? Actually, the definition of genocide, killing people for not doing anything but for being who they are. That is exactly it. That is exactly it. So yeah, the government can do all of these things, but I trust the international community. They are not stupid, they are not foolish. They have a lot of information about this crisis, and the truth shall prevail. The national dialogue is not going to resolve an international problem. This problem is not just national. It involves the United Kingdom, Britain, it involves the United Nations, it involves France. It involves Southern Cameroons, it involves La République du Cameroon. It cannot be resolved from a national perspective, from a one-man called monologue shot. It would not work. It has to involve all stakeholders, whether we like it or not. Whether we crack everybody down or we do not crack everybody down, this issue will be resolved on the table.
Some civil society leaders, including persons like Dr. Etta Ewan, a coordinator of the Cameroon Patriotic Diaspora, think that the whole truth has not yet been revealed as far as the Ngarbu incident is concerned. For example, the figures, the official figures today stands at 13. That is 13 people killed in that incident. But we remember that the church, the Roman Catholic Church, the non-governmental organizations like the Network of Human Rights Defenders in Central Africa, Human Rights Watch, and many others, and even Equinox Television went investigating, and the figures were more than 20 or about 30 persons killed in that incident. Do you think that the whole truth has been revealed in that report?
Oh, never, never. I mean, there's no investigation, even with the sophisticated technology and expertise of the West. Investigation has never been 100%. Most times it has a level of probability to what extent it is true. And with this case, you cannot trust these mouths to even tell you close to the number. No way. And let's not forget the history of this particular regime. Let's not forget mass graves that have been discovered. So definitely it is underreported, and this is no doubt. The only positive thing is that they themselves have an implicit direct admission that they are doing massacre. And this is why we are reminding the world that it's not just about Garbu. There is Menka, there is Kendem, there is Kwakwa, there is Bamenda, there is Boya, there is everywhere. Let the investigation, and this is exactly why Southern Cameroonians are fighting. They are fighting because they want these issues to be looked at. These human rights abuses should be looked at. The cause has to be looked at, and the cause is simple, that a people who are supposed to be free, self-determined, in their own terms and correction of international views and cosmology, have been subjugated and relegated to a bottom line under a country that doesn't know democracy. And we're talking about Southern Cameroons, the first democracy in Africa, a country that entered a so-called union with another country who has a singular government since independence, a country that has had 3 different elected governments. That's what we're talking about. You can see the anger, and the international community must understand this. They must understand this, whether or not there is confusion or there is crackdown or there are reports like this. We have to address these root causes, and we're saying that the bottom line of this report is trying to this report from La République du Cameroon is trying to give some relevance to that national dialogue, which the world knows has no relevance. There's no provision in that dialogue that means anything regarding this particular problem between Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon. The truth has to be investigated, and yes, the person you mentioned is in order to say it has been underreported, but the surface truth is just that, okay, there's an admission that our military did it.
All right, last question, Abdul Karim Ali. We have said this again and again, but I think it's important to repeat. Where is the door out of the troubled waters in the northwest and southwest regions of the country?
Well, I have an advice to give the government of La République du Cameroon, humbly, if they can take it. The advice is that we cannot pretend in the face of truth to defend lies. I repeat, we cannot pretend in the face of truth to defend lies. La République du Cameroon knows what the truth is. I know what the truth is. You know what the truth is. They should just go ahead, release all Southern Cameroonians from their dungeons. All of them. Our people are right there now dying because of COVID. We have a case already. People are dying in these dungeons for nothing. Release all of them, demilitarize these zones, and sit on a table and talk with the people of Southern Cameroon. It's as simple as that. If not, it's going to be a vicious cycle. The next president and the next after and the next after will meet generations of Southern Cameroonians not willing to return. Southern Cameroonian children who have been born in America, in Europe, will rise up tomorrow, ask for their uncles, and when they will hear the story that their uncles were locked up and got killed in prisons and they died in refugee camps, they will come back and fight. Like you see, Europeans and Americans went to fight for ISIL. It's not because they love ISIL, it's because they have a genealogy that leads back to these people.
Abdul Karim Ali, civil society leader, Muslim scholar, speaking to us from Canada. It should be recalled that as of now, there is the Northwest region, the Southwest region, both parts of a nation called the Republic of Cameroon. And this is where we draw the curtains on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinox Television. Thanks for staying with us.